Yo, Steel Mills, what's the deal, man? Yo, I gotta make this full run before House of Dragons come on. So that's what I'm in the process of doing right now, man. But peep game, man. There's a couple of fights we gotta talk about. I didn't get to watch the whole. I didn't get to watch all the festivities last night. I did. I'm gonna make a video on Murataya versus Tevin Farmer, but I really want to speak on this Boots versus David Avanyesan fight. Shout out to Boots, man. That was you did what you were supposed to do. You dig? I know it's this hometown curse thing that's kind of been, plaguing boxers for some time now. You dig? Katie Taylor losing in Ireland to Chantel Cameron. I think did Chantel Cameron lose? I think they fight in London, in the UK after that. In the rematch. You dig? You got that situation. You got Subriel Matias losing to Liam Barrow in Puerto Rico. The shit happens, man. Some fighters it's just harder for them to get up for that fight in their hometown. They ain't got to go away for a training camp. They at the crib, their feet kicked up. Sometimes shit just happens. But Bud and Boots are just cats who are just not necessarily plagued by that because their level of focus, mainly so with Bud, is just so epic and astronomical that it just really can't be calculated. So for Boots to come on and put that type of performance on at the crib is a sign of the times. Now, I made a video saying this before, that the level of scrutiny that David Avanyesan was under when Bud was going to fight him, that energy wasn't reciprocated when Boots went and fought him. You dig? It was a lot, there were a lot more lax. And of course, a lot of Boots fans are once upon a time Spence fans. So they're looking for someone to step on, to avenge that Spence loss. So a lot of them niggas is, Spence fans who are masquerading as Boots fans. So of course they wasn't going to put him under the same level of scrutiny as Bud. I've yet to heard Avocado and Avasneesian and all that wild shit that they were saying when Bud went to fight him on, just on as a tune-up fight to prep him for the Spence fight. I didn't get all that from Boots when he went and he fought him, but it is what it is, man. Whatever the fuck ever, man. On to the performance, man. He finished him faster than Bud. You know what I'm saying? He finished him in 5. He did. He proved himself to be a good pressure fighter. A really good pressure fighter. Punched in, punched in combination, punched with bad intentions. Come on, my nigga, go ahead. Countered well, countered effectively. You dig? Hard shots. He looked big in there last night too, man. He looked like a brolic dude in that ring, bro. Like he was in there knocking Avanyesan around, man. Fast hands, really good athleticism, good counter punching abilities, man. But it's one thing that really stuck out to me that separates the two. Now, triangle theories don't work, but even when it's a fight between, if y'all share common opponents, and depending on the common opponent that y'all are sharing, depending on that style that of the common opponent, you can't necessarily make triangle theories, but you can make educated guesses and hypotheses to come up with a proper analysis on how you personally think a fight breaks down between the two main opponents that we want to see get in the ring and mix it up. And what I'm seeing from Boots in front of a David Avanyesan as opposed to someone like Bud in front of a David Avanyesan was the amount of times he got clipped. Now, granted, it's boxing, and Avanyesan was never, Bud and Boots were never in any real danger of being knocked out by David Avanyesan. I don't think there was ever any real danger of an upset taking place. But I'm looking at the amount of times that Boots is getting clipped by David Avanyesan, and I think that shit is really alarming. Even early on in the fights, the jittery movement, that may have been, the hometown curse that a lot of people have seemed to have been plagued about. But it just seemed like, just when somebody comes out real fast, they're not, it's the movement in their there's not really a fluidity in their movement. They're just doing, they're, trying to knock them jitters off, trying to knock them cobwebs off. It is a head scratcher, man. But when I'm looking at Boots, I'm looking at somebody who's being backed into the ropes. Now, is it willingly getting back into the ropes? I can say, yeah, you can say that Yeah, he's willingly getting backed into the ropes, but I'm also seeing Avanesian pushing him back as well. I'm seeing him being pushed back as well, and I'm seeing him get hit clean in exchanges, bro. Clean. When Bud was in front of Avanesian, it was one particular point in the fight, and it was replayed after the round was over. In the third round, if I'm not mistaken, David Avanesian has Bud on the ropes, and Bud completely pivots around this dude and forces him to reset. And that was the highlight of the round. That was the highlight of the round. Fuck the punches that was landed. That was the highlight of the round right there. Him being trapped on the rope, his back is against the rope, and he completely steps around David Avanesian and forces him to reset. I'm looking at, and even then, you dig, because Bud is not one of those dudes who just fight, he doesn't necessarily punch on the go, even though he can punch on the go. He's not necessarily one of those guys who just circles the perimeter of the ring. He'll take a half step back. He takes a half step back. So even when he's at towards the ropes, he's still up and he's down. You dig? He still has that small, minute area of or space to where he can get out if he needs to get out. So he's not completely pinned up against the rope to where he can't pull back. Only thing he can do is get to the side. He's not, he'll find himself in those positions, but it's so far in between. I'm looking at Boots, and I'm looking at somebody who's pinned on the rope, and his only way to get off the rope is to unload firepower, as opposed to getting to the side of the shot, getting up under the shot and spinning out. You dig? Like Richardson Hitchens does, or like Bud did against Avanesian. I thought that was very glaring. I thought it was very glaring that he was getting hit as often as he was getting hit in exchanges. Jabs, overhands, all of that shit. Bud got clipped, definitely. Listen, both of them got rid of Avanesian in 5 and 6 rounds. So I'm just, at this point, it's nitpicking. But the thing is, you have to nitpick these small and minute things, because if that's a better opponent in front of you, this fight goes in a different direction. And when I'm looking at Boots get clipped as often as he's getting clipped by David Avanesian in these exchanges on the rope, in the middle of the ring, I'm sitting here and I'm like, yo, bro, you getting hit a little too much. Bud got hit, definitely. Don't get it fucked up. But it wasn't in concession. It would be, just an exchange here. Bud gets clipped. You dig? He times Bud pretty well in this exchange right here, or in this moment right here. Bud gets clipped. He shakes. Okay, cool. Now I'm gonna adjust to that. You dig? And even it was certain things that Bud was doing. Just even when you go on the offensive, you're still on the defensive as well. When your arm is extended, a lot of times if you can't get a shot straight down in between those punches, or between the shot where the arm where Bud is using it, or your opponent is using the fence, the straighter shots with, you can use that as a deflect, as a defense to deflect shots as well. And that's what he was doing with Avanesian. He was still catching shots as Avanesian was trying to overhand and throw those overhand looping shots. And it worked in his favor. And on top of that, how he's fighting in the clinch, he's not getting hit as much in the clinch and in the phone booth as Boots was getting hit. His guard is tighter. He's catching shots. He's moving his upper body. He's stepping around him. His guard is tighter. I'm looking at Boots, and I'm looking at someone who's getting hit pretty often in the pocket. And it's like, yo, what is going on here, man? Like, I'm sitting here and I'm real life watching this shit, and I'm kind of baffled. Like, bro, man, yo, pause. All right, I'm back, man. But yeah, man, what I'm looking at when it comes to Boots and Avanesian, I'm looking at somebody who's just their guard just isn't as it's not as compact as Bud's is, man. Bud's he not only does he have the tighter guard, he has the better head movement. You dig? I'm just noticing these things because everybody is swearing that Boots is supposed to be the anti-Bud, and I'm looking at this fight in particular. And I'm just, for someone who can switch hit, I don't understand how you don't have and someone who's as gifted athletically as Boots is, and for someone who's the second coming of Roy Jones Jr. and all that, what is it about you that you can't necessarily spin an opponent? Now, maybe you just wanted to stay in front of him and bang that shit out. Maybe so. Maybe so. Maybe so. You dig? Like I don't want it. I don't want this to come off as if I'm throwing salt at Boots, because I'm not. I'm honestly not. But I am making an analysis between him and Bud, and I think it's a pretty. What I saw was kind of alarming last night for someone that y'all swear by is gonna beat the shit out of Bud, and that Bud is running from. I'm watching these two fight, and I made sure I watched them both back to back. And I'm like, yo, that is alarming. You should not be getting hit that much, because I'm like this, man. Granted, just, yeah, you came off a year of inactivity. Yeah, I get that, but so did Bud. When he fought, y'all both went into that fight with the same situation. You're inactive, a year of inactivity, and you got hit a lot. It's so minuscule, man, but at that level, it's not, because that small. You have a better one, thank you. It's so minuscule, yeah. I definitely get it, man. But just that, that small, minute crack in the game could make or break how a fight goes between the two big dogs, man. So I'm really just sitting here like, bro, yeah, you was off for a year, but so was Bud. You dig? And Bud was off of fighting Sean Porter. He fought Sean Porter that previous year before he went into the Avanyesan fight. He fought Sean Porter and stopped him. You dig what I'm saying? How exactly? I'm really trying to wrap my head around this. You dig? That you shouldn't be getting hit that much by someone like David Avanyesan. You get hit by someone like Sean Porter. You dig? You get hit by someone like, we ain't even got to go back to that generation. We can say Brian Norman. You get hit by Centillion. You get hit by Rocha. You get hit by, do I want to say Barrios? Yeah, I think Barrios can find, Barrios can find a mark, and you know what I'm saying, in between your defenses, because of who he's been in with. Being Thurman and Ugas, even though Ugas wasn't much when he got to him, but he's a grade higher than the caliber of competition you've been in with. But those are the type of cats you get hit by. And even with Avanyesan, he's been in there. He's been in there with Mean Machine. He's been in there with Josh Kelly. He's been in there with Bud. I get it. But I just feel like Avanyesan isn't the fighter that these other fighters are. You dig? And I'm sitting here and I'm like, if that is somebody with a bigger shot, a much bigger punch, he punched with much more authority than someone like a David Avanyesan. How does that fare with you? You dig me? Like, how does that, I'm not so sure. Like, I don't, man, nah, man. He's not beating Bud, bro. It's just not happening. Because when you look at the two of them, when you looked at they both knocked Avanyesan out. But when you look at Bud, did not get hit as much. Bud has the tighter defense, and it was just he's a lot more nuanced than Boots, bro. It just is what it is. He's a lot more nuanced than Boots. Better head movement. He takes care of himself better. Shots don't get through as easy, as frequently as it does with someone like a Boots. When you're fighting someone of a certain caliber. Better feet, better switch hitter. Both of them have really good punch placement, man. Boots was finding he was finding a home for those uppercuts, and you dig. I'm not about to sit here and pump fake and nah. Boots was really, Boots was doing good work in the pocket, bro. He was, but it was just the amount of times he was getting hit. If that's Bud in front of you, bro, yikes. Yikes. A much more concussive, authoritative puncher, yes, bro. It's a bad night for Boots if them niggas fight. It's a bad night. It's a bad situation if them two rumble. It's a bad situation because he's just a better, he's more defensively responsible. And when you're talking about someone like Boots, because he's far more skilled than someone like a David Benavidez, but these are the situations where as you step up in competition where your weight and your size isn't going to be able to dictate how the fight goes, normally, where you want to really start sharpening up your tools, you need to start doing that in the now. Because we saw what happened with David Benavidez and Vosdick. It could be the same thing with Boots. What happens when you go up there and you in front of somebody who's durable and you can't just push them around the ring and debo them, hey, yo, pause. But yeah, bro, I'm back. Sorry about that, but just when you are, bro, you can't go up there with that leaky defense. It's as simple as that. You can't go up there with that leaky defense, man. And I just see certain shit that kind of just you kind of have, you're uncomfortable in certain spaces. And I don't think you was overly uncomfortable, but I think if someone is in a position where they're good enough and they're a big enough puncher, they can force that level of uncomfortability out of you, and it can cause, you can begin to unravel. You can call, with Brian Norman and someone, Brian Norman can fuck around and cause that anxiety in you with his ability to, to out muscle you, or, you know what I'm saying, and counter punch you effectively. I'm not saying that he beats you. I'm not saying that at all. But he has the skill to really give you he can give you good work. And I'm not, David Avanyesan should not be hitting you as much as he was hitting you. Roman Villa didn't even hit you that much. David Avanyesan was touching you often, man. Consecutively. Jab, straight, overhand right. In concession, not necessarily a combination, but when he gets the shot back home, he snaps the jab, gets the jab, brings his hand back home. Here comes the right hand, and it's touching you consecutively. I'm like, yo, this is wild. So I just couldn't believe what I saw, man. Nonetheless, it was a great performance. It was a really great, showing for you in the Philadelphia crowd. You did your city proud, definitely, man. You definitely did that. But I just think, man. We got you, nah, bro. I just think you need to leave Bud alone, man. Just leave Bud alone. Leave Bud alone. Yo, pause. One more time. This is my last time. But yeah, man. Yeah. I just, man. Listen, man. You did good, but there are some things that I saw that have me really on high alert. You did. Leave Bud alone, man. There's leave Bud alone, man. Leave Bud alone and just develop a little bit more, man. And that's pretty much all I got to say about it, man. I got to run in here and grab some more grub. So y'all be easy, yo. Deuces.